Hello, everyone. Before we begin tonight's journey, if you enjoy stories that help you relax and find peace in quiet moments, consider subscribing to the channel. These stories are designed to calm your mind, and there are many more waiting for you here. Now, settle in, let the world fade away, and join us in the frozen north. While the blizzard covered the north, the Vikings noticed something in the fjord that should not have been there. Not a ship, not ice breaking loose from the cliffs, something else, something darker against the white, something that moved with purpose when everything else stood frozen and still. You stand with them on the shore, wrapped in furs so thick they double your size. The wind carries snow horizontally across the water, erasing the world in sheets of white. Visibility comes and goes. One moment you see the fjord stretching before you, dark water between walls of ice. The next, everything disappears behind the storm. But in those brief clearings, you see it again, a shape, low in the water, drifting slowly toward the settlement. The man beside you is named Eric. He's seen 40 winters, maybe more. His beard is gray with age and white with frost. He doesn't speak, doesn't point. He simply watches, squinting against the wind, confirming what his eyes tell him. "Whale?" someone asks from behind, a younger voice, uncertain. Eric shakes his head slowly. Wrong movement, wrong size. You feel the cold working through your layers. Even with wool and fur and leather, even with your back to the wind, the temperature finds ways inside. Your face numbs first, then your fingers, tucked deep in mittens. The cold here is patient and thorough. The settlement sits at the head of the fjord, built where fresh water meets salt. 15 longhouses arranged in a loose semicircle. Smoke rises from roofs, quickly swept away by wind. This is Fjordheim, a Norse community 2 weeks sailing from the nearest village, remote by choice, protected by distance and ice. Winter here is not a season, it's a state of existence. The sun barely climbs above the mountains now. What little daylight you get is pale and brief. Most hours pass in twilight or darkness. The cold settles in October and doesn't lift until May. 7 months of ice and snow and wind that never fully stops. You've learned to live with it. Everyone here has. But that doesn't mean you've learned to like it. The shape appears again during a break in the snow. Closer now, definitely moving toward shore. You can see it's not drifting with current. It's being propelled somehow, deliberately guided. "Boat," Eric says finally. But whose? A valid question. No one travels this late in the season. The autumn storms make sailing dangerous. Ice forms in channels overnight. Ships caught in the fjord can be trapped until spring. Anyone with sense is already settled in their winter quarters, waiting for warmer months. Yet here comes a vessel, appearing through the worst blizzard of the year.
"Get Magnus," Eric says to the young man behind you, "and Astrid, quickly." The man turns and runs toward the largest longhouse. You remain standing with Eric, watching, waiting. The wind pushes against you constantly, testing your balance. Snow accumulates on your shoulders and hood. You brush it away periodically, but it returns immediately. The settlement around you is preparing for winter in earnest. Food stores have been secured, livestock brought closer to the houses, boats pulled far up the beach and overturned for protection. Everything that can be tied down has been. Everything that might blow away has been stored. Winter in the Norselands is about preparation. You don't fight it, you outlast it. With enough food, enough fuel, enough shelter, you survive until spring. Without these things, you don't. The approaching vessel brings uncertainty into carefully made plans. Unknown visitors mean unknown needs, unknown intentions. In winter, hospitality is law. You take in travelers, regardless of who they are. To refuse is unthinkable. But you also prepare yourself for what taking them in might mean. More mouths to feed, more bodies to warm, more fuel consumed, more space occupied. Winter is already the season of scarcity. Adding to it requires adjustment. Magnus arrives first, breathing hard from the run. He's younger than Eric, built thick and strong like a man who spent his life working. His hands are scarred from rope and wood and iron. He leads the settlement by consensus, though no one calls him chief. That word belongs to older times. Here, decisions are made by those with the most experience. "Where?" Magnus asks, scanning the fjord. Eric points. You all watch together. The snow thickens again, obscuring everything. You wait. Cold seeps steeper through your layers. Your toes begin to ache inside your boots. This is what cold does. It starts at the extremities and works inward, patient and relentless. Astrid joins you next, wrapped in a cloak of white fox fur. She's older than Magnus, roughly Eric's age. Her gray hair is bound tight against the wind. She carries authority in the way she moves, in how others make space for her. She's the healer, the keeper of knowledge, the one who remembers old wisdom. "How many?" she asks. "Can't tell yet," Eric replies. "One boat, small, I think, coming slow." "Why now?" Astrid wonders aloud. "In this storm, in this season?" No one answers. The question hangs in the cold air between you. The snow clears again, and this time the boat is close enough to see clearly. It's a small fishing vessel, built for coastal waters. 6 oars, though you can't tell how many are manned. The hull sits low, weighted down by something. Ice has formed along the sides, thick enough to see even at this distance. The boat is in trouble, that much is obvious. It's moving, yes, but barely. The oars dip irregularly, without rhythm. Whoever rows is exhausted or injured or both. They won't make the beach, Magnus says.
Not at that angle. Current will push them past. He's right. The boat is aimed toward shore, but the fjord's current runs strong here where fresh water meets salt. Without steady power from the oars, the current will carry them sideways, past the settlement, toward the narrow channel that leads deeper into the fjord. "We need to go out," Eric says. "In this?" someone behind you protests. "They won't make it otherwise," Eric replies simply. It's a statement of fact, not bravery. The approaching boat is failing. Someone must help, or it will be lost. The storm doesn't change that calculation. The cold doesn't alter the math. Help is needed, therefore help must be given. Magnus nods once. "Get the small boat. Eric, you and I will row. Thomas, Bjorn, you come too. 4 should be enough." You realize with a start that you're Thomas. This is your role in the story. You're part of this community, part of this rescue. The cold against your face is your cold. The decision to go out in the storm is your decision too. "Astrid, prepare the healing house," Magnus continues. "Whatever they have, they'll need warmth and food, probably injuries." Astrid nods and tones away, moving quickly despite her age. Others scatter to tasks. Within minutes, a small rowboat is being pushed toward the water. It's lighter than the fishing boats, easier to handle in rough conditions. 4 sets of oars, 4 seats. You help push it down the beach. The boat slides across snow and ice that's accumulated on the stones. When it reaches the water's edge, waves immediately try to push it back. The fjord is choppy today, disturbed by wind funneling between the mountains. "In," Magnus orders. You climb aboard, finding your seat near the middle. Eric takes the front. Magnus and Bjorn take the back. Each of you grabs an oar. The wood is cold enough to burn through your mittens. Someone pushes the boat from shore. Suddenly you're in the water, rising and falling with the waves. The wind catches you immediately, trying to spin the boat broadside. You dig your oar in and pull. The others do the same. Together you fight against wind and current, rowing toward the struggling vessel. The world narrows to immediate sensations. The bite of wind, the splash of freezing water, the burn in your shoulders as you pull against the oar. The boat rises on waves and drops into troughs. Each stroke must be timed with the others, or the boat will turn. Snow stings your face. Water splashes over the sides, instantly freezing on the wood. Your hands ache from gripping the oar, but you row. One stroke, then another, then another. The distance to the other boat feels enormous, though it's probably less than 300 yards. In the storm, measurement becomes impossible. You navigate by glimpses, by brief moments when visibility clears enough to see your target. "Steady," Eric calls from the front. "Keep the rhythm." You row. The cold intensifies on the water. Wind that felt harsh on shore feels brutal here. It comes from every direction at once, bouncing off the fjord's walls. Snow isn't falling so much as flying, driven horizontally by gusts that seem aimed at pushing you back. Between strokes, you glance at the other boat. It's closer now. You can see figures slumped over oars. Ice covers everything. The hull, the oars, the people. They look frozen in place, struggling through movements that must take all their remaining strength. "They see us," Magnus says. "They've stopped rowing." It's true. The other boat has gone still. Whoever's inside has given up trying to reach shore, accepting rescue instead.
You approach from the side, careful not to let the boats collide too hard. Eric reaches out with his oar, using it to cushion the impact. The two vessels come together with a solid thunk. Ice breaks off where they meet. Up close, the situation is worse than you thought. 3 people in the boat, 2 men and a woman. All 3 are covered in ice. Their clothes are frozen stiff. Frost covers their beards and hair. They move slowly, like people in a dream, each gesture requiring enormous effort. Help them across, Magnus orders. Eric and Bjorn reach over, grabbing the nearest person, one of the men. He tries to stand, but his legs won't hold him. They half lift, half drag him into your boat. He collapses at your feet, breath coming in shallow gasps. The woman comes next. She's conscious, but barely. Her lips are blue. Her eyes don't quite focus. When they pull her across, she doesn't make a sound, just lets herself be moved like cargo. The third person, the other man, is worst. He doesn't respond when Eric touches him, doesn't react when they try to lift him. It takes all 3 of them to get him over. When they lay him in the bottom of the boat, he doesn't move at all. Row, Magnus says urgently. Now. You turn your boat toward shore. With 6 people instead of 4, it sits lower in the water. Waves that splashed over the sides before now pour in with every swell. But you row anyway, hard, fast, fighting to get back to land before the storm worsens, or before your own boat takes on too much water. The wind is behind you now, pushing you toward shore. That helps, but it also makes the boat harder to control. You have to row carefully, keeping it straight, preventing it from turning sideways and capsizing. The 3 rescued people lie in the bottom of the boat, barely conscious. They're not moving, not speaking, just breathing. Sometimes, you can't tell if all 3 are still alive. Your arms burn, your back screams, cold water soaks through your boots, but you row, one stroke, another, another. Shore appears through the snow, close. You can see people waiting, figures in dark cloaks against white snow. They're waving, guiding you in. The boat hits shallow water, scrapes against stones hidden under the surface. People rush forward, grabbing the sides, pulling it higher onto the beach. Hands reach down, lifting the 3 strangers out of the boat.
They're carried quickly toward the longhouses, toward warmth, toward whatever can be done for people who've spent too long in winter water. You climb out on shaky legs. Your body doesn't want to cooperate. Muscles have seized from cold and exertion. Someone grabs your arm, steadying you. You don't see who. You just follow them toward the nearest building, toward heat and shelter. The door opens and warmth hits you like a wall. The transition is so sudden it almost hurts. Your frozen skin protests. Your eyes water. You stumble inside and someone closes the door behind you, shutting out the wind and snow. You're in Astrid's healing house, smaller than the main longhouses, but warmer, kept hot specifically for treating injuries and illness. A fire burns in the central hearth, larger than necessary. The room is almost stifling after the cold outside. The 3 strangers are being laid near the fire. Astrid moves between them, checking each quickly. Her hands move with practiced efficiency, feeling for breath, for pulse, for signs of life. This one, she says, pointing to the man who hadn't responded on the boat. Help me here, now. You move without thinking, joining her beside the unconscious man. Up close, you can see ice has formed in his beard. His skin is gray. His lips are colorless. He's not breathing. Turn him, Astrid orders. You help roll him onto his side. Water spills from his mouth. Salt water. He'd been in the fjord then, somehow in the water itself, not just exposed to spray. Astrid presses on his back, forcing more water out. Then she rolls him back and begins pushing on his chest. Hard, rhythmic compressions that seem violent but are necessary. Breathe, she mutters. Come on, breathe. You watch, feeling helpless. Around you, others are working on the other 2 strangers, removing their frozen clothes, wrapping them in furs, putting warm stones near their bodies, but not against them. That would burn frozen skin. Astrid continues chest compressions. Her face is set with concentration. She's done this before, you realize, many times. This far north, people fall through ice. People get caught in storms. People drown. Healing here means knowing how to fight death when it comes for someone. The man suddenly coughs. Water sprays from his mouth. His chest heaves. He gasps, a terrible, rattling sound, but he's breathing. Good, Astrid says, not stopping her work. Again, breathe again. He does. Another gasping breath, then another. Each one sounds painful, but each one means life. Astrid sits back, satisfied for now. Get these wet clothes off him, carefully. The fabric might be frozen to skin. Warm water to thaw it first, then cut it away. People move to obey. You help, though your own hands are still numb from rowing. Together you work to free the man from clothes that have become like armor, stiff with ice and salt. While
While you work, Astrid moves to check the other two. The woman is conscious now, shivering violently.
That's good, you know. Shivering means the body is still fighting, still trying to warm itself. When shivering stops, that's when real danger begins. The other man is somewhere between, not fully conscious, but responding to touch. His eyes open briefly when Astrid checks him, then close again. They'll live, Astrid announces to the room. All three. But it was close. Another hour in that cold and we'd be preparing bodies for burial instead of people for healing. The room releases a collective breath. Tension you hadn't fully noticed eases slightly. People continue their work, but with less urgency. The immediate crisis has passed. Magnus appears beside you. He's removed his wet outer layers and stands in dry wool. Good work on the water, he says simply. Quick response saved them. You nod, not trusting your voice yet. Your throat is raw from breathing cold air. Your body is starting to shake as warmth returns. This is normal, you know. The aftermath of extreme cold. Your body recalibrating. We need to know where they came from, Magnus continues, speaking to Astrid now, and why they're here. But that can wait until they're strong enough to talk. Tomorrow at earliest, Astrid replies. Maybe longer. The one who drowned, that one will need days to recover fully. We'll assign them space in the guest house, Magnus decides. Post someone to watch them through the night. If their condition changes, wake me immediately. Astrid nods. The guest house is a small structure used for travelers and traders during better seasons. In winter, it stands mostly empty. It'll be cold, despite the fire they'll light there, but it's shelter. It's survival. You watch as the three strangers are wrapped completely in furs. Their wet clothes have been cut away, replaced by dry wool. Warm stones wrapped in cloth are placed near them, not touching, but radiating heat. Warm broth is being prepared, though they're not ready to drink yet. The man who drowned is breathing more steadily now. His color is slightly better. Not good, but better than the gray pallor he had. His chest rises and falls with increasing regularity. The woman shivering has lessened slightly. Someone is stroking her hair, speaking quietly to her in Norse. You can't hear the words, but the tone is soothing, calming. The third man has opened his eyes again. They focus better this time. He looks around the room, taking in the faces surrounding him. Confusion shows clearly in his expression. He tries to speak, but only manages a hoarse whisper. Rest, Astrid tells him in Norse. You're safe, you're warm. Rest now. Whether he understands the language or just the tone, he seems to accept this. His eyes close again. Outside, the storm continues. You can hear wind battering the walls, snow hissing against the roof. The world beyond this warm room is hostile and white, but here, inside, life persists. Heat and breath, and the steady work of healing. You realize you're still wearing wet clothes. Your boots squelch when you shift weight. Someone notices and guides you toward a corner where dry things are waiting. You change quickly, grateful for the warmth of dry wool against your skin. By the time you're dressed again, the three strangers are being moved. 4 strong men carry them carefully toward the door. Another person runs ahead to open it. Cold air rushes in briefly, making the fire dance. Then the door closes and warmth reasserts itself. You stand there for a moment, processing what just happened. Rescue, near death, recovery, all in the span of less than an hour. This is life in winter settlements. Crisis can arrive without warning. Response must be immediate. Hesitation costs lives. Magnus approaches you again. Get food, rest, you've earned it. But later, when they can speak, I'll need you there. You were on the water with them. You saw their boat. We'll need every detail when we try to understand what happened. You nod. Food sounds impossible right now. Your stomach is still tight from cold and exertion, but you know you need it. Your body has burned enormous energy. That must be replaced. Someone hands you a bowl of stew. The smell makes your stomach clench, but you force yourself to eat. The first bite is difficult. The second, easier. By the third, you realize you're starting. Night falls completely, though in truth it's hard to tell. The days are so short now that twilight and darkness blend together. You measure time by other things, by meals, by sleep, by the rhythm of tasks that mark each day. You eat your fill, then help clean the healing house. Wet clothes must be hung to dry. Water must be mopped from the floor.
The fire must be fed and tended. These small tasks ground you, bring you back from the intensity of the rescue. Later, you return to your own longhouse, the one you share with 12 others, a combination of families and unmarried workers. It's warm inside, filled with the smell of cooking and smoke and people living in close quarters. People ask about the rescue. You tell them what you know, which isn't much. 3 strangers, nearly frozen, 1 nearly drowned. All alive, for now. From where, you don't know. Going where, you don't know. Why traveling in this storm, you don't know. The questions will be answered tomorrow. Maybe, if the strangers are strong enough to talk. You find your sleeping space along the wall, a platform raised slightly off the floor, spread with furs and wool. Not comfortable by summer standards, but warmer than it looks. The furs trap body heat effectively. Once you're inside them, the cold can't reach you easily. You lie there, listening to the sounds of the longhouse. Quiet conversations, the crackle of the fire, someone coughing, a child crying briefly before being soothed. The wind outside, constant and patient. Your mind replays the rescue, the cold of the water, the weight of the oar, the sight of those 3 people, frozen and struggling.
The moment when the drowned man started breathing again. You think about what Magnus said. Another hour and they'd be dead. You made it in time. Barely. But barely is enough. Sleep comes eventually, though your dreams are filled with cold water and wind. Morning arrives, gray and dim. The storm has passed, leaving behind a world transformed. Snow covers everything deeply. Drifts reach halfway up the longhouse walls. The fjord is partially frozen now, ice extending from the shores toward the center. You wake to the sound of shoveling, people clearing paths between buildings. It's necessary work, done every morning after heavy snow. Without clear paths, moving between houses becomes dangerous. People have gotten lost between buildings during blizzards, frozen to death 20 feet from warmth. You dress in layers, wool first, then leather, then fur on top, mittens, hood, boots lined with grass for insulation. Each layer matters. Each one buys you a few more minutes outside before cold becomes dangerous. Stepping out, the air hits your face like a slap. The temperature has dropped further. Your breath freezes instantly, forming clouds that hang in the still air. The world is silent in the way only deep cold can create. Sound dampens, movement slows. You join the shoveling effort, taking your turn clearing the path to the well. Physical work warns you quickly. Within minutes, you're sweating inside your layers, though your face remains numb. Someone calls your name, Magnus, waving from the guest house. You set down your shovel and make your way over, stepping carefully on the packed snowpath. Inside the guest house, it's warmer than outside, but still cold by normal standards. A fire burns in the small hearth, but the building isn't insulated like the main longhouses. Heat escapes quickly through gaps in the walls. The 3 strangers are awake. They're sitting up, wrapped in furs, holding bowls of warm broth. They look better than yesterday. Color has returned to their faces. Their eyes focus properly, but they still look weak, tired in a way that goes beyond one night's sleep. Magnus stands near them, with Astrid and Eric. They're waiting for you. Thomas, Magnus says. Good. These are our guests. This is Leif, Anna, and Harold. He points to each in turn. The 2 men and the woman. They're from the settlement at Nordvik, 3 days' journey south normally. You know Nordvik, a small fishing village similar to Fjordheim. You've never been there, but travelers have brought news. It exists. Or existed. Tell Thomas what you told us, Magnus says to Leif, the man who nearly drowned. Leif takes a slow breath. When he speaks, his voice is hoarse, damaged by cold water and screaming. Nordvik is gone, he says simply. Destroyed. The words hang in the cold air. You wait for him to continue. 2 weeks ago, Leif says, the first snow came, heavy snow. We thought it was normal, early winter storm. We prepared as always, secured the boats.
Brought in livestock, stored food. He pauses to sip broth. His hands shake slightly. But the snow didn't stop. It fell for 4 days straight, heavier than anything we'd seen. Drifts reached the roofs. We had to dig out doorways twice a day just to keep them clear. Anna picks up the story. The weight was too much. One of the longhouses collapsed. The roof gave way under the snow. 3 people were inside. We got them out, but 2 were badly injured. Then the wind came, Harold adds. Not normal wind, a gale that lasted 2 days. It stripped roofs off buildings, scattered our supplies, drove snow into every gap. We couldn't keep fires going. The cold got inside. People started dying, Leif continues quietly. The injured first, then the old, then children. We tried to gather everyone in the largest house, the one with the strongest roof. But it wasn't enough. Not enough heat, not enough food, too many people using too much air. He stops, staring at his bowl. No one speaks. By the time the storm passed, half the settlement was dead, he finally says. Maybe more. The survivors, some left, heading south toward other settlements. Some stayed, trying to salvage what they could. We took a boat north. We thought maybe here, at Fjord, we could find help, find shelter. The storm caught us yesterday, Anna says. Came up fast. We tried to make it through, but the wind was wrong. Waves swamped the boat. Harold went over the side. Leif jumped in after him. I kept rowing, trying to reach them. By the time we got Harold back in, the boat was half full of water and we were all soaked. The cold took us fast after that, Leif says. Too fast to bail out the boat properly. Too fast to think clearly. We just kept rowing toward where we thought Fjordheim should be. When we saw your shore, we knew we'd made it. Barely. Silence fills the room again. You process what they've told you. An entire settlement destroyed by winter. People dead. Survivors scattered. It's not unheard of. Settlements fail sometimes. Bad planning, bad luck, bad winters. Usually you hear about it through travelers in spring. News carried by those who survived. You don't usually hear about it from people who barely escaped alive. We're grateful you took us in, Anna says. We know we're a burden. 3 more mouths in winter. We'll work for our keep. Whatever you need. Magnus raises a hand. Hospitality isn't negotiable. You're welcome here. What we have, we share. That's the law of winter. It's true. In summer, settlements might be more selective about visitors. But in winter, refusal means death. You don't send people back into storms. You don't turn away the frozen and hungry. You take them in, share what you have, and trust that others would do the same for you. But Magnus's face is troubled. You can see him doing calculations. 3 more people, at least until spring. That's 3 portions of every meal. 3 bodies needing warmth.
3 people consuming fuel and supplies. Fjordheim's stores are adequate for the expected winter population. Adding 3 wasn't planned for. It means rationing more carefully, making everything last longer, being more cautious with fire and food. How many survived at Nordvik? Eric asks. When we left, maybe 20, Harold says, but that was 10 days ago. Could be fewer now. The ones who went south, Magnus says. Where were they heading? Grimstead, 2 days south of Nordvik, larger settlement. They should have made it if the weather held. Magnus exchanges looks with Eric and Astrid. You can see them thinking the same thing. If Nordvik fell, other settlements might be in trouble too. This winter might be harder than usual, more dangerous. We need to assess our supplies, Magnus says finally, carefully, see exactly what we have, how long it'll last with our current numbers. Then we make decisions. It's the practical response, the only response. Hope means nothing in winter. Only preparation and careful management keep people alive. For now, you 3 rest, Magnus tells the strangers. Recover your strength. In a few days, when you're better, we'll find you proper work. Everyone contributes, but first, heal. They nod gratefully. Leif looks like he might cry, but holds it back. The relief of being safe, of being taken in, shows clearly on all their faces. You leave the guest house with Magnus, Eric, and Astrid. Outside, the day is brighter. Sun has emerged, low on the horizon, but providing some light. The snow sparkles. The fjord looks almost beautiful, ice and water mixing in complex patterns. Meeting tonight, Magnus says. Everyone who makes decisions. We need to plan carefully. Eric and Astrid nod. You're included in this group by virtue of being on the rescue boat. You've earned a voice in what comes next. This is going to be a hard winter, Eric says quietly. Harder than most. No one disagrees. The day passes with normal winter work. Shoveling snow, tending animals, checking food stores, mending clothes, preparing meals. The rhythm of survival continues regardless of news from outside. But the story from Nordvik spreads through the settlement. By midday, everyone knows. 3 survivors, settlement destroyed, many dead. The weight of it settles over Fjordheim like snow, heavy and cold. People react differently. Some become more serious, more focused on their tasks. Others grow quieter, withdrawing into themselves. A few become more generous, sharing extra food or offering help without being asked. Proximity to death does this. It reminds you what matters. You spend the afternoon working on repairs. A section of roof needs patching where wind damaged it during yesterday's storm. You climb up with 2 others, carrying tools and materials. The work is cold and difficult, but necessary. A small leak now becomes a major problem later. From the roof, you can see the entire settlement. Smoke rises from every building. People move between houses,
dark figures against white snow. The fjord stretches away to the south, partially frozen now, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. You think about the three strangers, their journey through the storm, their settlement dying behind them, the choice to head north toward unknown help rather than south toward certain destinations. That took courage, or desperation, perhaps both. By the time you finish the roof repairs, your hands are numb despite thick mittens. You climb down carefully, falling is especially dangerous in winter, and head inside to warm up. Evening approaches. The brief daylight fades quickly. Darkness settles over the settlement like a blanket. Stars emerge, brilliant and cold. The temperature drops further. On clear nights like this, the cold becomes almost solid. It presses against buildings, seeking ways inside. After dinner, the meeting convenes in Magnus's house. 12 people gather, the decision-makers of Fjordheim. Magnus, Eric, Astrid, yourself, and 8 others who represent families or important skills. The blacksmith, the boat builder, the hunters, the older women who manage food stores. You sit in a circle near the fire. Magnus begins without ceremony. You all know about our guests, 3 survivors from Nordvik. They'll winter with us. That changes our calculations. We need to review our position honestly. Ingrid, the eldest of the women who manage food, speaks first. We have adequate grain, dried fish, preserved meat, enough for our current numbers through spring. Adding 3 means tighter rations, but it's manageable. Fuel? Magnus asks. Wood is sufficient, says the blacksmith, Orm. We stockpiled well in autumn, but we'll need to be careful. No waste, no unnecessary fires. What about the livestock? Eric asks. The animals are fine, replies the herder, Bjorn. We'll slaughter 2 more before midwinter. That'll give us meat and reduce what we need to feed through the cold months. Magnus nods, taking it all in. So we can manage, barely, if nothing else goes wrong. That's the question, Astrid says. Will other refugees come? If Nordvik fell, other places might be in trouble. We could see more people fleeing north. The room considers this. It's a valid concern. If word spreads that Fjordheim is stable, others might come seeking shelter. Each additional person strains resources further. We can't turn people away, someone says. The law of winter. I know the law, Magnus interrupts. We won't refuse anyone. But we need to prepare for that possibility. We need to know our absolute limits. How many people can we actually support? Numbers are discussed, calculations made. Current population is 42, including the 3 newcomers. Food and fuel could stretch to support 50, maybe 55 if rationing is strict. Beyond that, survival becomes questionable. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Eric says. Hope isn't a plan, Magnus replies. We need contingencies.
If more refugees arrive, we need to know what we can offer and what we can't. We could send people south, suggests the boat builder, Leif, before the fjord freezes completely. Reduce our numbers here, improve chances for those who stay. And send them where? Astrid asks. Into the same conditions that destroyed Nordvik? Into winter storms without shelter? It might be worse to keep them here, Leif argues. If we run out of food in February, everyone starves. Better some survive than none. The argument goes back and forth. You listen mostly, learning how decisions are made, how practical concerns balance against moral ones, how mathematics of survival force impossible choices. Eventually, Magnus calls for quiet. Here's what we'll do. We maintain current plans, ration carefully, watch our supplies weekly. If more refugees arrive, we assess at that time. If we must send people south, we wait until late winter, when days are longer and weather more predictable. It's a compromise, not satisfying to anyone, but acceptable to most. That's how consensus works. One more thing, Astrid says. The 3 from Nordvik, they were running from disaster. What if disaster follows them? The room goes quiet. What do you mean? Magnus asks. I mean, what if this winter is different? What if conditions are worse than normal? The settlers at Nordvik were experienced. They'd survived many winters. If they couldn't make it through, why do we think we will? It's a dark thought, one that no one wants to voice, but everyone has considered. We're better positioned, Eric says. Our buildings are stronger. Our stores are larger. We have the fjord's protection. Nordvik had similar advantages, Astrid points out, yet they fell. So what do you suggest? Magnus asks. What should we do differently? Astrid pauses, choosing words carefully. I suggest we accept that this winter may test us beyond anything we've experienced. I suggest we prepare mentally as well as physically. And I suggest we make the hard choices now, before crisis forces them on us. What hard choices? Someone asks. Deciding who goes and who stays, if it comes to that, Astrid says bluntly. Deciding how we allocate resources if they run short. Deciding what we're willing to do to survive. The room shifts uncomfortably. These are not pleasant topics, but Astrid is right. Better to think about them now, calmly, than to face them in desperation later. Let's not borrow trouble, Magnus says finally. We prepare for what we can anticipate. We handle the rest as it comes. Agreed? Heads nod around the circle. The meeting concludes. People disperse to their homes. You walk out into the cold night, your mind full of calculations and concerns. Above, the northern lights begin to dance. Green and purple curtains of light ripple across the sky. Beautiful, ethereal, indifferent to human struggle below. You stand watching for a moment.
The lights remind you that the world is larger than your settlement, larger than your winter, larger than survival and death, and all the small choices that fill your days. But your days are what you have. Your settlement is your world, and winter is the challenge you must face. You return to your longhouse and find your sleeping space. Tomorrow will bring more work, more cold, more slow grinding passage of winter days. But tonight, you sleep, warm in your furs, alive in the darkness. And that, for now, is enough. Days pass, then weeks. Winter settles in completely. The three refugees recover slowly. Within a week, they're strong enough to work. They're given tasks appropriate to their healing. Light work at first, helping prepare food, mending clothes, tending animals. As their strength returns, they take on more. Leif, the man who nearly drowned, develops a cough that won't leave. His lungs were damaged by cold water. Astrid treats him with herbs and hot compresses, but progress is slow. He works anyway, refusing to be useless. Anna adapts quickly. She's skilled with her hands, good at repairs and fine work. She helps make new clothes from furs and leather, essential work as old garments wear out. Harald is quiet, traumatized perhaps by what he witnessed at Nordvik. He works hard but speaks little. At night, sometimes you hear him crying in the guest house. No one comments. Grief is private. The settlement adjusts to their presence. 3 more people in the daily rhythm, 3 more names to remember, 3 more voices in the communal spaces. Food rations are reduced slightly, not drastically, but enough to notice. Portions are smaller. People go to bed with stomachs that aren't quite full. It's manageable, uncomfortable, but manageable. Fuel is used more carefully. Fires are allowed to burn lower at night. People wear more layers indoors. The cold creeps closer, but stays at bay. The fjord freezes more each day. Ice extends from shore toward the center. Soon the entire surface will be solid. When that happens, a different kind of isolation sets in. No boats can come or go. The settlement is truly cut off until spring. No more refugees arrive. This brings relief, but also raises questions. Where did the other survivors from Nordvik go? Did they make it to Grimstead? Or did winter claim them during their journey? There's no way to know. News doesn't travel in winter. You exist in isolation, aware that other settlements exist but unable to communicate with them. Whatever happens elsewhere remains unknown until spring brings travelers and trade. The routine of winter becomes your entire world. Wake, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Days blend together. Weeks pass without distinct markers. Time is measured by diminishing supplies and the slow movement of the sun towards its highest point, the winter solstice.
before it begins the equally slow return toward spring. You take your turn at various tasks. One day you're helping slaughter animals.
The next, you're repairing tools. The day after, you're clearing snow from roofs. Whatever needs doing, you do. It's during one of these routine tasks that something changes. You're out on the ice, early morning. The fjord has frozen solid enough to walk on, though care is still required. Ice can be thin in unexpected places, especially where current runs strong underneath. You're checking fish traps set below the ice. It's a careful process. You find the markers showing where traps were placed at autumn before freeze-up. You cut through ice with an axe. You lower a hook to snag the trap below. You pull it up. You remove any fish. You rebait if necessary. You lower it back down. You mark the location again. You move to the next trap. It's cold work. The ice radiates chill upward through your boots. Your hands go numb quickly despite thick mittens. But the fish are needed. Fresh food in winter is precious. You're at the fourth trap, pulling it up, when you hear something. A sound, faint but distinct, coming from across the fjord. You stop. Listen. The sound comes again. Not wind, not ice cracking. Something else. You look up, scanning the far shore. The fjord is narrow here, less than half a mile across. You can see the opposite bank clearly in the morning light. Movement. Something is moving over there. Multiple somethings. Dark shapes against white snow. People. You watch, trying to count. Hard to tell at this distance. 10? 15? More than a few. They're moving along the shore, heading north, toward Fjordheim. More refugees. Your stomach tightens. This is what Astrid predicted, what everyone feared. More people fleeing failed settlements. More mouths to feed. More bodies needing warmth. You leave the fish trap and head back toward shore, moving quickly but carefully. Ice is treacherous when you hurry. You need to alert Magnus. The settlement needs to prepare. Halfway to shore, I glance back. The group across the fjord is stopped. They're looking toward you. They've seen you seeing them. One of them raises an arm, waving. You raise your arm in return. Acknowledgement. Not quite welcome, just recognition. I see you. You exist. They resume walking, moving steadily north along the far shore. They'll reach a crossing point by midday. They'll be at Fjordheim by afternoon. You reach shore and run toward the settlement. Your breath comes in clouds. Your legs pump hard. Snow makes running difficult, but you push through. You find Magnus inspecting a roof repair. People coming. You gasp out. From the south. 15, maybe more. Magnus's face hardens. Where? Far shore. Moving north. They'll be here by afternoon. He nods once. Find Eric and Astrid. Get laid from Nordvik too. Meeting in my house. Now. You run to obey. Within minutes, the core group is gathered. Thomas saw more refugees, Magnus says without preamble. Coming from the south. At least 15 people. They'll arrive in a few hours. We need to decide how to handle this.
We have no choice, Astrid says immediately. We take them in. The law, I know the law, Magnus interrupts, but we also have limits. We agreed we could support 50 people, maybe 55. We're at 42 now. 15 more makes 57. That's beyond our planned capacity. We manage, Eric says. We ration more. We make it work. And if more come after this group, Magnus asks, do we take everyone until we're so diluted that nobody survives? Silence. Leif speaks up hesitantly. At Nordvik, we tried to help everyone. We packed into the strongest house. We shared everything. It wasn't enough. Too many people, too few resources. If you try to save everyone, you might save no one. So what do you suggest? Astrid asks. We turn them away? Send them into winter? I suggest you protect your own first, Leif says quietly. I suggest you think very carefully about capacity. I suggest you remember what I told you. Half our settlement died. The other half scattered. Some of the scattered are probably dead by now too. Good intentions didn't save us. The weight of his words settles over the room. We could send them to other settlements, Eric suggests. Further north, spread the burden. Through winter? Astrid says skeptically. With what supplies? With what guarantee there's space elsewhere? Better than keeping them here to starve in February? Eric argues. Magnus raises his hand. Enough. Here's what we do. We greet them. We hear their story. We offer immediate shelter. 1 night, maybe 2. During that time, we assess their condition and our capacity honestly. Then we make decisions based on facts, not fear or sentiment. And if the decision is that we can't support them all, someone asks, then we do what we must, Magnus says. Survival isn't always kind, but it's always necessary. It's agreed upon reluctantly. The group disperses to prepare. Food must be readied for guests, space must be cleared in the guest house or somewhere, warm water must be heated, all the rituals of hospitality, even when hospitality itself is strained. You spend the next few hours helping prepare.
hauling water, arranging furs, moving food stores. The work keeps your mind busy, but anxiety gnaws at you. 15 more people, maybe more, in a settlement already stretched, in a winter that might be worse than normal. The mathematics are grim. But turning them away feels impossible too. Inhuman. These are people fleeing death. How do you look at them and say no? How do you close your door and listen to them freeze outside? There are no good answers, only necessary ones. Afternoon arrives. The newcomers appear on the near shore. Closer now, you can count them properly. 17 people, adults and children, moving slowly, obviously exhausted. Magnus, Eric, and several others go out to meet them. You join the group. As you approach, details become clearer. These people are in bad shape, worse than Leif, Anya, and Harald had been.
They've been traveling longer, exposed to cold for days, maybe weeks. Frostbite marks several faces. Their clothes are inadequate. One person is being carried by others. They stop when you're close enough to talk. No one speaks immediately. The two groups study each other, assessing, calculating. Finally, an older man steps forward from their group. "I am Olaf," he says in Norse, "from the settlement at Bergvik, 6 days south. We come seeking shelter." Magnus replies, "Leader here at Fjordheim. What happened at Bergvik?" "Same as elsewhere," Olaf says wearily. "Hard winter, heavy snow, failed harvest last autumn, not enough food. People started dying. The council decided to evacuate, send people to other settlements. We drew lots. 17 of us came north, others went east and west." "How long have you been traveling?" 8 days. Conditions were bad. We lost 2 people on the way. Exposure. We couldn't save them." Magnus nods slowly. "Come with us. We'll provide shelter tonight. Food, warmth. You can rest." "And after tonight?" Olaf asks. He's not stupid. He hears the careful wording. Shelter tonight, not shelter for the winter. "We'll discuss it," Magnus says, "after you've recovered, after we've assessed our situation honestly." Olaf's sakes tightens, but he nods. It's more than some would offer. It's something. The group follows you back to the settlement. They walk slowly, some limping. The person being carried is unconscious or close to it. Children cry from cold and exhaustion. It's a pitiful sight. At the settlement, they're brought to the largest longhouse, too many to fit in the guest house. Space is made near the fire. The unconscious person is laid down and Astrid immediately begins examining them. "Severe frostbite," she announces. "Both hands, both feet, possibly pneumonia. I'll do what I can, but..." She trails off. The unspoken conclusion hangs in the air. This person might not survive. The others are given warm broth, dry clothes, furs to wrap in. The transformation from frozen desperation to relative comfort is visible. You see the relief on their faces, the way shoulders relax, the way breathing steadies. But you also see something else, the same calculation you're doing. 17 more people, in addition to the existing 42. That's 59 total, beyond the agreed limit. Magnus pulls you and the other leaders aside. "Meeting tonight," he says quietly, "after they're settled. We need to make decisions." You nod. The day stretches on. You help where you can, tending to the newcomers, preparing food, making space. The work is endless. By evening, the newcomers are settled as much as possible, fed, warm, resting. The settlement has absorbed them, for now, but questions loom. Can this continue? Should it? The meeting convenes after dark, the same core group as before, plus a few others. Magnus's house is crowded. People sit close, conserving warmth. "We're at 59 people," Magnus begins.
"Beyond our planned capacity. We need to decide what happens next. We can't support this many through winter," Orm the blacksmith says bluntly. "Our supplies won't stretch that far." "Then we ration more severely," someone argues. "There's a limit to rationing," Orm replies. "Cut food too much and people start dying anyway. Slower, maybe, but still dying." "So what do you suggest?" asks Astrid. "We send them back out? We choose who lives and who dies?" "Yes," Orm says flatly. "That's exactly what I suggest. We keep who we can support. The rest must go elsewhere." "Where?" Astrid demands. "Where do they go? Every settlement is struggling. That's why they're all sending people out." "Not our problem," Orm says. "Our problem is keeping our own people alive. We can't save everyone." The argument escalates. Voices rise. People talk over each other. Frustration and fear leak out. Magnus lets it go for a minute, then calls for silence. "Enough. Shouting solves nothing. We need clear thinking." The room settles reluctantly. "Here are the facts," Magnus continues. "We have food and fuel for 42 people through spring. We're currently at 59. That's 17 more than planned. If we keep everyone, we run out of food sometime in late February, maybe early March. Then everyone starves.
He pauses, letting that sink in. We have 3 options. 1, we keep everyone and hope we can make supplies stretch. Hope that we can hunt or fish enough to supplement. Hope that winter ends early. That's a lot of hoping. No one speaks. 2, we send some people to other settlements. Reduce our numbers to something manageable. That means choosing who goes and accepting that we're sending them into uncertainty. Still silence. 3, we implement strict rationing now. Extend our supplies as far as possible. Plan to supplement with hunting and fishing. Accept that it'll be hard, possibly dangerous, but might give everyone a chance. I vote for 3, Astrid says immediately. I vote for 2, Orm counters. The group is split. You see it in their faces. Some favor harsh practicality. Some favor hopeful generosity. Both positions have merit. Both have risks. Thomas, Magnus says, turning to you. You haven't spoken. What do you think? You're surprised to be asked directly, but Magnus is watching you. Everyone is watching you. You take a breath, organizing your thoughts. I think, you say slowly, that we can't send people away without trying to help. They came to us for shelter. We can't just pass the problem elsewhere. So you vote to keep them? Orm asks. I vote to try, you say. Option 3, strict rationing, hunting, fishing, making it work. If we fail, but at least we tried. Several people nod. Others look unconvinced. We could still send some away, Eric suggests. Keep, say, 10 of the newcomers, send 7 to other settlements. That would put us at 52, closer to manageable. Who decides which 10 stay and which 7 go?
Astrid asks pointedly. No one has an answer for that. The debate continues. Options are weighed. Numbers are calculated. Everyone knows that whatever decision is made, people will suffer. The only question is how much and who. Finally, Magnus calls for a vote. Who supports keeping all 59 people and implementing strict rationing? Half the hands go up, including yours. Who supports sending some to other settlements to reduce our numbers? The other half go up. Tied, Magnus observes. That means I decide. The room waits. Magnus is silent for a long moment. You can see the weight of leadership on him. He's the one who must choose. He's the one who will live with the consequences. We keep them, he says finally. All of them. We ration strictly, we hunt and fish aggressively. We make it work. Winter is hard, but we are harder. Fjordheim doesn't abandon people to die. That's not who we are. Some people nod approvingly. Others look worried, but the decision is made. Starting tomorrow, Magnus continues, new rationing schedule. Everyone gets the same portion, no exceptions, adults and children alike. We also organize hunting parties, ice fishing every day. We find every source of food available. And if it's not enough, Orm asks. Then we make harder choices when we must, Magnus says, but not tonight. Tonight we chose mercy. Let's see if winter rewards that or punishes it. The meeting ends. People file out into the cold night. You stand there for a moment, processing what just happened. 59 people, stretched supplies, a long winter ahead. The odds aren't good. But you tried. You chose hope over practicality. Whether that was wisdom or foolishness, only spring will tell. You return to your longhouse and find your sleeping space. Tomorrow brings new challenges, new work, new struggles. But tonight, 59 people sleep warm in Fjordheim. And that, you tell yourself, means something. The next weeks are hard. Rationing hits immediately. Portions shrink noticeably. People go to bed hungry every night. Stomachs growl, energy levels drop, tempers fray as hunger gnaws constantly. But no one starves. Not yet. Hunting parties go out daily. The ice is thick enough now to support sleds. Teams venture further from the settlement, looking for game. Seals, caribou, Arctic foxes, anything that can be eaten. Success is mixed. Some days they return with meat. Other days they return empty-handed. You can never predict. Animals are scarce in winter. They migrate south or hibernate, or simply avoid areas where humans hunt. Fishing is more consistent. The traps below the ice produce small amounts daily. Not much, but something. Every fish helps. Every scrap of additional food stretches supplies a little further. You take turns at both. One day hunting, the next fishing. The day after working in the settlement. Everyone rotates. Everyone contributes. The newcomers from Bergvik integrate slowly.
Some adapt quickly, grateful for shelter and willing to work hard. Others struggle. The person with severe frostbite dies after a week. Too much damage. Astrid did what she could, but some injuries can't be healed.
The death hits the settlement hard. It's a reminder of how thin the margin is, how close everyone walks to the edge. But life continues, because it must. Children still play, even in the cold. Their laughter sounds strange against the serious adult faces, but it's necessary. Children need to be children. Winter shouldn't steal that completely. Couples still find privacy occasionally, still create moments of intimacy despite the crowding. Life persists in all its forms. People still tell stories by the fire, old tales of heroes and gods, new tales about the settlements they came from. Memories shared become collective. Separate histories blend into one. You start to see it, the way crisis creates community, how shared struggle binds people together. Leif and Anna and Harald from Nordvik are no longer outsiders. They're part of Fjordheim now. The 17 from Bergvik are becoming the same. Different origins, same present. But hunger unites you most of all. Everyone feels it equally. Everyone endures the same empty bellies. There's democracy in deprivation. One morning you wake to find new snow has fallen heavily overnight. Drifts reach the roofs again. The settlement is half buried. Everyone turns out to dig. It takes all day to clear essential baths. Your back aches. Your arms tremble from exertion. But by evening, the settlement is accessible again. That night, Magnus announces a change. "We're ahead of schedule on food consumption," he says during the communal meal. "Barely, but ahead. If this continues, we might make it through winter without crisis." Relief ripples through the gathered people. It's the first good news in weeks. However, Magnus continues, "We can't relax. One bad week could change everything. We maintain current rationing. We keep hunting and fishing aggressively. We take nothing for granted." People nod. No one expected otherwise. But knowing you're ahead, even slightly, lifts spirits. After the meal, you're approached by Anna from Nordvik. She's been quiet since arriving, focused on work. But tonight, she seeks you out. "Thomas," she says, "I wanted to thank you. For the rescue. For bringing us in. For supporting the decision to keep everyone." "It was the right thing to do," you say. "Maybe," she says. "But not everyone agrees. Some think Magnus made a mistake. I've heard talk. People saying we should have turned away the Bergvik group. That we're risking everyone for strangers." You're not surprised. You've sensed the tension yourself. "What do you think?" "I think you saved my life," she says simply. "Twice. Once pulling us from the water. Once choosing mercy when practicality said otherwise. I won't forget that." She walks away before you can respond. You stand there, feeling the weight of her words.
You did help save her life, and 16 others. Whether that was wisdom or dangerous compassion, time will tell. But in this moment, you feel right about it. The night grows colder. Stars emerge, brilliant in the clear air. You watch them for a moment before heading inside. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, more hunger, more cold, more work. But tonight, people sleep with slightly lighter hearts. Ahead of schedule means hope, and hope, however fragile, matters. Deep winter arrives, the darkest, coldest part of the year. The sun barely rises now, a few hours of twilight at midday, then darkness again. The settlement lives by firelight and starlight. Time becomes even more elastic, measured by sleeps rather than days. The cold intensifies to levels that feel unnatural. Air so cold it burns to breathe. Metal too cold to touch with bare skin. Water that freezes in cups before you can drink it. People move less, conserve energy, huddle closer to fires. The world outside the longhouses becomes hostile territory, visited only when necessary. Hunting becomes nearly impossible. The hunters who venture out return exhausted, frostbitten, empty-handed. Animals have gone to ground. Only the most desperate creatures move in this cold. Fishing continues, but yields drop. The ice is thicker now. Cutting through it takes enormous effort. Some days the work burns more energy than the fish provide. Food stores shrink steadily. You watch the supplies diminish and do the math in your head. Will they last? You think so. Barely, but so many things could go wrong. One day a child falls ill. Fever, coughing. Astrid treats her with what herbs remain, but the girl worsens. For 3 days she hovers between life and death. Her parents keep vigil, their faces hollow with fear. The settlement watches anxiously. One death could become many. Illness spreads easily in the crowded longhouses.
If fever takes hold, it could decimate the population faster than hunger ever would. But on the 4th day, the fever breaks. The girl wakes, weak but lucid. She'll survive. Relief is profound. People celebrate quietly. It's a small victory, but in winter, small victories sustain you. The solstice passes, the shortest day. After this, sunlight begins its slow return. The days will lengthen, minute by minute, week by week, until eventually spring arrives. Knowing this helps. Psychologically, the solstice is a turning point. The worst is behind you. Ahead lies only improvement, however gradual. Morale improves slightly. People smile more. Conversations grow less strained. Hope creeps back in, tentative but real. You take your turn ice fishing one particularly cold morning. Eric accompanies you. The two of you work in silence, cutting through ice, checking traps, methodically working your way across the fishing grounds. "We're gonna make it," Eric says suddenly. You look up, surprised by the certainty in his voice. "The supplies will last," he continues. "The fish will keep coming."
Spring will arrive. We'll survive. You sound sure, you say. I am, Eric replies. I've seen hard winters before. This one is hard, yes, but we're managing. We haven't lost anyone to starvation. Only one to illness, and that one lived. The settlement is holding together. That matters most. He pauses, pulling up a trap. 2 fish inside. He removes them, rebaits the trap, lowers it back down. Magnus made the right call, Eric says, keeping everyone. I wasn't certain at the time, but I am now. We're stronger together. The work is shared. The burden is distributed. If we'd sent people away, we'd be weaker, more vulnerable. What changed your mind, you ask? Watching, Eric says simply. Seeing how people help each other, how everyone contributes. The Nordvik survivors, the Bergvik refugees, they're not outsiders anymore. They're us. That only happens when you choose inclusion over exclusion. You nod slowly. He's right. The settlement has changed, grown, not just in numbers but in character. Adversity has forced cooperation. Cooperation has created unity. Still, Eric adds, it could have gone the other way. We got lucky. The winter, though hard, hasn't been cataclysmic. If conditions were worse, Magnus's decision might have killed us all. But they're not worse, you say. No, Eric agrees. They're not. You continue fishing. The work is meditative, repetitive movements that free your mind to wander. You think about the winter, about decisions made, about consequences that followed, about the thin line between survival and disaster. By midday, you've checked all the traps in your assigned area. The catch is modest but adequate. You and Eric load the fish onto a sled and pull it back toward the settlement. The journey takes an hour. The sled is heavy, the snow is deep, but the work warms you. By the time you reach the settlement, you're sweating inside your furs. The fish are delivered to the food stores. Ingrid counts them, notes the amount, distributes portions for the evening meal. The system works. Everyone knows what they're entitled to. Everyone gets the same share. That evening, the meal includes fresh fish, a luxury after weeks of dried and preserved food. People eat slowly, savoring every bite. Conversations flow more easily. Laughter emerges, brief, quiet, but present. After the meal, Magnus makes an announcement. We've passed the midpoint of winter, he says. The solstice is behind us. Days are lengthening, supplies are holding. If we continue as we have, we'll make it through to spring. Applause ripples through the longhouse, not loud, but heartfelt. This is because of all of you, Magnus continues. Your work, your sacrifice, your willingness to share with strangers who became neighbors. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, proud of what we've become. More applause. You see people smiling, nodding to each other. The mood has shifted. Fear and desperation have eased into cautious optimism. That night, you sleep better than you have in weeks. Full stomach, relatively speaking, warm furs, hope for spring. It's enough. Late winter arrives, the 3rd and final stage. Days grow noticeably longer. The sun lingers above the horizon for several hours now. Light returns. Color returns. The world is no longer just white and black. The cold remains, but it feels less aggressive. The worst has passed. You're on the downslope now, heading towards spring. Food stores continue to shrink, but at a predictable rate. You'll reach spring with little left, but enough. It's going to work. Magnus's gamble is paying off. Hunting improves slightly. Animals begin moving again, sensing the approaching season change. The hunters bring back a caribou one day, then a seal. Small victories that provide crucial calories. The ice on the fjord begins showing signs of strain. Cracks appear near the center. Not dangerous yet, but promising. When the ice breaks up completely, boats can travel again. Trade can resume. Isolation will end. People start planning for spring, seeds to be planted, boats to be repaired, nets to be woven. Work awaits, but work brings hope. The cycle continues. One morning, you're helping repair a sled when Olaf from Bergvik ouches. You've spoken little since his group arrived. He's kept mostly to himself, working hard but not socializing much. Thomas, he says, a moment? You set down your tools. Of course. I wanted to say something, Olaf begins. When we arrived, I wasn't sure you'd let us stay. I saw the hesitation. I heard the arguments. I know it was a close decision. It was, you admit. I don't know if I thanked you properly, Olaf continues, for supporting us, for voting to keep everyone. I know you were one of the voices that mattered. Anyone would have done the same, you say. No, Olaf says firmly. They wouldn't have. Many settlements turned us away. Before we reached here, we tried 3 other places. All refused, said they couldn't support us, sent us back into the cold. Your settlement is the only one that said yes. This surprises you. You knew other settlements were struggling, but you hadn't realized refugees were being turned away actively. Why, you ask? Why did they refuse? Fear, Olaf says simply. Fear of not having enough. Fear of strangers. Fear of change. Your Magnus chose differently. He chose courage. He chose hope, you correct. There's a difference. Maybe, Olaf says, but the result is the same. 17 people alive who would be dead otherwise. He extends his hand. You shake it. The grip is firm, grateful. After he leaves, you think about what he said. Other settlements refused. Fjordham accepted. Was that courage or foolishness? Even now, after everything, you're not entirely sure. But you're glad you did it. Glad 59 people will see spring instead of 42. That evening, during the meal, Magnus makes another announcement. Ice is weakening in the fjord.
Within a week, maybe 2, boats will be able to travel again. That means we can send messages south, check on other settlements, resume trade. It also means, he continues, that those of you who came from elsewhere can choose what you want to do. Stay here at Fjordheim permanently, or travel home if your settlements have recovered, or go elsewhere. The choice is yours. The newcomers exchange glances. This is a big decision, one they've had months to consider but no ability to act on. Leif from Nordvik speaks first. There's nothing to return to at Nordvik. The settlement is gone. Most people are dead. I have no reason to go back. Then you're welcome to stay here, Magnus says. We've appreciated your work. You've earned a place. Leif nods, looking relieved. Anna and Harald murmur agreement. They're staying too. Fjordheim is home now. Olaf from Bergvik considers longer. Some of my group want to return south, he says finally, to see if Bergvik can do rebuilt. Others want to stay here. Can we split? Of course, Magnus says. Anyone who stays is welcome. Anyone who wants to leave will be supplied for the journey. We don't abandon people, coming or going. It's decided then. Some will stay, some will go. Fjordheim will be smaller come summer, but stronger. The ones who remain will be those who chose to be here. That night, conversations buzz with plans and possibilities. Spring is coming. Change is coming. Life is returning to normal. You lie in your furs, listening to the sounds of the longhouse. People talking, laughing, making plans. It sounds different than it did in autumn. More hopeful, more connected. Winter tested Fjordheim. The settlement survived. Not without cost. One death, constant hunger, endless cold, but survived nonetheless. And that survival was a choice to include rather than exclude, to risk rather than refuse, to try rather than turn away. You don't know if every settlement could have made that choice, or should have. Every situation is unique. Every decision carries consequences. But for Fjordheim, in this winter, it was the right choice. You close your eyes and sleep. Spring arrives gradually, then suddenly. One day the fjord is solid ice. The next, cracks spread like lightning. The day after, open water appears in the center. Within a week, ice is limited to the shorelines. Boats can travel again. The first vessel to arrive brings traders from the south. They carry news. Some settlements survived the winter well. Others struggled, but made it through. A few, like Nordvik, failed completely. Fjordheim's story spreads. The settlement that took in refugees, that shared limited supplies with strangers, that survived through cooperation when others survived through exclusion. Some call it foolish, dangerous, setting a bad precedent. Others call it admirable, moral, an example of what community should be. Magnus just shrugs when asked about it. We did what we thought was right, he says. The rest is judgment from people who weren't there. The refugees who choose to leave depart on a clear morning, 7 of the Bergvik group heading south to see if they can rebuild their settlement. You watch them go, hoping they find what they're looking for. The ones who stay, Leif, Anna, Harald, Olaf, and 9 others from Bergvik, are formally welcomed as permanent residents. A small ceremony, nothing elaborate, just acknowledgement. You're here, you belong, welcome home. Work begins immediately. Spring work, planting, repairing, fishing, hunting, building. The settlement comes alive with activity after months of winter dormancy. You take on new responsibilities. Magnus asks you to help organize fishing expeditions. Your experience on the winter ice makes you valuable. You accept, pleased to contribute in larger ways. Weeks pass. The settlement settles into spring rhythm. Longer days, warmer temperatures, green returning to the land, life reasserting itself. One evening, you stand at the shore, watching the fjord. The water is dark and calm. The mountains on either side glow pink in the sunset. It's beautiful, peaceful. Hard to believe this same fjord was frozen solid just weeks ago. Magnus joins you. He's aged noticeably over the winter. More gray in his beard, more lines around his eyes. Leadership took its toll. Thinking, he asks. Remembering, you reply. The day we pulled them from the water, how close it was. Everything was close this winter, Magnus says. Every decision, every day. The margin between survival and disaster was thinner than any of us wanted to admit. But we made it, you say. We did, Magnus agrees. Because people chose to work together, chose to share, chose to endure together rather than survive separately. He's quiet for a moment, watching the water. I've been thinking about next winter, he says finally. We need to prepare better. Larger stores, more fuel, better insulation in the buildings. We got lucky this year. We can't count on luck again. You want to prevent another crisis, you say. I want to be ready for one, Magnus corrects. Crisis will come. It always does. Our job is to build capacity before it arrives, to create margin, to make sure we can help next time without risking everyone. It's the practical lesson of winter. Hope is good. Preparation is better. We'll help, you say. Everyone will. We learned a lot this winter. We won't waste those lessons. Magnus nods, satisfied. He walks back toward the settlement. You remain a moment longer, watching light fade from the sky. The fjord is quiet now. No desperate boats fighting through storms, no frozen refugees being pulled from the water. Just peace, calm, the gentle lap of waves against shore. But you know winter will return. In 7 months, maybe 8, the cycle continues. Cold will come again. When it does, Fjordheim will be ready, stronger, more prepared, better able to help others without endangering itself. That's the balance.
Compassion with capacity, generosity with wisdom, inclusion without self-destruction. Winter taught you that. Hardship revealed it. Survival proved it. You turn and walk back toward the settlement, toward warmth, toward community, toward home. Behind you, the fjord continues its eternal rhythm, ice to water, water to ice, season to season, year to year. And somewhere in that rhythm, human stories unfold, stories of survival and death, choice and consequence, courage and fear. This was one such story. Not the only one, not the most dramatic, just one winter, one settlement, one choice to include rather than exclude. But it was enough. It was survival. And in the north, where winter rules and cold never fully leaves, survival is victory enough. Now let your mind settle. Let the story fade gently like warmth from a dying fire. The Vikings survived. The settlement endured. The choice to help strangers became the choice that saved everyone. Winter tested them. They passed the test. Not perfectly, not without cost, but they passed. Your breathing slows now. The cold you imagined begins to lift. The hunger you felt alongside them eases. You return to your own warmth, your own safety, your own moment. The fjord remains. The mountains stand. The settlement continues. Life in the north goes on, season after season, year after year. People surviving, people choosing, people enduring. Thank you for joining this journey, for walking through winter alongside these people, for experiencing their struggles and their victories. If you enjoyed this story, if it brought you peace or helped you relax, please subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories like this waiting. Stories of survival, of quiet courage, of human endurance in the harshest places. Rest well, stay warm, and remember, even in the coldest winters, warmth can be found in the choices we make and the people we choose to help. Good night.